Welcome to the AskJunior Daily Judgment Podcast. I'm Anya Sharma, and joining me today is Rohan Gupta.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to dive into today's incredibly significant judgment from the Supreme Court of India, a 9-judge bench decision that's been years in the making. But before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our podcast if you enjoy our daily legal breakdowns. We really appreciate your support.
Absolutely, Rohan. Your likes, subscriptions, and shares help us reach a wider audience and continue providing these in-depth analyses of crucial legal developments. Now let's get started with today's landmark case, State of Uttar Pradesh and Ors versus MS Lalta Prasad Vaish and Sons, 2024 INSC 812. This case, spanning multiple appeals and special leave petitions, finally resolves a decades-long debate about the constitutional distribution of legislative power concerning alcohol.
This is a complex case, Anya, touching upon the very fabric of India's federal structure. At its core, it's about the interplay between the union and state government's powers to regulate and tax alcohol, particularly industrial alcohol. The case hinges on interpreting several key entries in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, which divides legislative powers between the union and the states.
Exactly. The 7th schedule lists 3 categories: the union list, list 1, the state list, list 2, and the concurrent list, list 3. List 1 grants exclusive power to the parliament, list 2 to state legislatures, and list 3 allows both to legislate, with parliamentary law prevailing in case of conflict. This case focuses on entry 8 of list 2, intoxicating liquors, that is to say, the production, manufacture, possession, transport, purchase, and sale of intoxicating liquors. And entry 52 of List 1, industries the control of which by the union is declared by Parliament by law to be expedient in the public interest.
The conflict arises because alcohol has both potable, drinkable, and non-potable industrial uses. The Industries Development and Regulation Act 1951, IDRA, enacted under entry 52 of List 1, initially gave the union control over fermentation industries, including alcohol production. However, this created a clash with the state's traditional authority over alcohol regulation under entry 8 of List 2.
The Supreme Court's journey to resolve this conflict is fascinating. It began with Synthetics and Chemicals Ltd. versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 1980, a 2-judge bench case that initially interpreted entry 8 broadly to include both potable and non-potable alcohol. This was challenged, leading to Synthetics and Chemicals Ltd. versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 1990, a 7-judge bench decision, often referred to as Synthetics 7J.
Synthetics 7J significantly narrowed the scope of entry 8, ruling that intoxicating liquors referred only to potable alcohol fit for human consumption. This decision, however, sparked a wave of litigation and conflicting interpretations over the years. The court itself acknowledged the inconsistencies in its subsequent judgments.
Yes, the 1990 decision led to a series of cases with varying interpretations. For example, Shri Bileshwar Khand Udyog Kedut Sahakari Mandali versus State of Gujarat, 1992, and Gujchem Distillers India versus State of Gujarat, 1992, attempted to reconcile the 1990 ruling with the state's power to regulate industrial alcohol to prevent its diversion for potable use. Then there was State of Andhra Pradesh versus McDowell, 1996, which addressed the state's power to prohibit alcohol consumption.
The inconsistencies continued with VAM Organic Chemicals versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 1997, and its sequel, VAM Organic Chemicals versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 2004, which dealt with licensing and fees for denaturing alcohol. Bihar Distillery versus Union of India, 1997, further complicated matters by suggesting a purpose-based distinction. The union would control alcohol for industrial use, while states would control alcohol for potable use. This led to further confusion and the need for a larger bench.
The conflicting interpretations culminated in Government of Haryana versus Haryana Brewery, 1997, which finally led to the current 9-judge bench referral. The court recognized the need to clarify the inconsistencies and settle the long-standing dispute.
The current 9-judge bench decision, therefore, is a culmination of decades of legal wrangling. The court meticulously examined the constitutional provisions, the legislative history, and the plethora of previous judgments. Chief Justice Chandrachud's opinion, which forms the majority view, overrules the 1990 Synthetics 7J decision.
The majority opinion takes a broader view of Entry 8 of List 2. It argues that intoxicating liquors isn't limited to just potable alcohol, but includes any alcohol that could be misused or diverted for consumption, even industrial alcohol. The court emphasizes the need for a wide interpretation of legislative entries to maintain the federal balance.
The court also clarifies the scope of Entry 52 of List 1. It holds that the union's power to control industries isn't absolute. The Parliament must specifically define the extent of control it's assuming over an industry. Simply declaring an industry to be under union control doesn't automatically oust the state's power in all aspects.
This is a crucial point, Rohan. The court rejects the idea that the IDRA, by merely including fermentation industries, automatically gives the union complete control over all aspects of alcohol, including those traditionally regulated by the states. The court emphasizes the need to reconcile overlapping entries harmoniously, avoiding interpretations that render other entries redundant.
The majority opinion also delves into the meaning of intoxicating liquors in Entry 8 of List 2. It examines previous cases like FN Balsara versus State of Bombay, 1951, which interpreted liquor broadly, and Southern Pharmaceuticals and Chemical versus State of Kerala, 1981, which focused on preventing the misuse of alcohol in medicinal and toilet preparations. The court uses these precedents to support its broader interpretation of Entry 8.
The court's analysis of FN Balsara is particularly interesting. It highlights how the original interpretation of the Bombay High Court was too narrow, and the Supreme Court's subsequent reversal emphasized the need to prevent the misuse of alcohol, even in non-beverage forms. This aligns with the majority's current approach.
The judgment also addresses the 2016 amendment to Item 26 of the DRA's first schedule, which excluded potable alcohol from the union's control. The court interprets this amendment in light of its broader interpretation of Entry 8, effectively limiting the union's control over alcohol to non-potable varieties.
The court also discusses Tika Ramji versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 1956, which established a threefold classification of industrial activity: pre-production, production, and post-production. However, the current judgment finds Tika Ramji largely irrelevant to the alcohol dispute because of its broader interpretation of Entry 8.
Finally, the judgment addresses the role of Section 18G of the IDRA, which allows the central government to regulate the supply and distribution of articles related to scheduled industries. The court clarifies that the mere existence of Section 18G doesn't automatically oust the state's power. A specific notified order under Section 18G is necessary to occupy the field.
Justice Nagaratna, in her dissenting opinion, takes a different stance. She agrees with the 1990 Synthetics 7J decision, arguing that the state legislatures lack the competence to legislate on industrial alcohol due to the IDRA's control over fermentation industries. She emphasizes the importance of maintaining a clear demarcation between union and state powers to avoid legal confusion.
Justice Nagaratna's dissent highlights the ongoing tension between the need for national uniformity in certain industries and the state's autonomy in matters of local concern. Her detailed analysis of previous judgments and the constitutional framework provides a valuable counterpoint to the majority opinion.
The implications of this judgment are far-reaching. It clarifies the constitutional balance of power regarding alcohol regulation and taxation, resolving decades of uncertainty. It also impacts various state excise laws and the functioning of industries that use alcohol as a raw material. The decision will undoubtedly shape future litigation and policy decisions related to alcohol in India.
The case underscores the complexities of interpreting constitutional provisions and the importance of harmonizing seemingly conflicting entries. The detailed analysis of the court, both in the majority and dissenting opinions, provides valuable insights into the intricacies of Indian federalism and the ongoing evolution of its legal framework.
And that wraps up our analysis of today's judgments. We hope you found our discussion informative and engaging. It was a complex case, but hopefully we've shed some light on the key issues.
Before we sign off, We'd like to remind our listeners once again to like, subscribe, and share our podcast. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue bringing you daily updates on the most important legal decisions.
Absolutely. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another exciting episode. Until then, this is Anya Sharma.
And Rohan Gupta, signing off. Thanks for listening to the Ask Junior Daily Judgment Podcast.